when humanity found its grip on atomic power and the first atomic bomb struck land. There was little more left in the ruins except decrepit buildings and skinless bones. Since the catastrophes committed by these cruel minds surfaced, the question was begging to be answered. How would a species like us manage to survive in a post-warfare nuclear crater? The stories you'll find in Fallout offer the best answers to that question. People took refuge underground in massive cities called vaults, miles apart from each other. Each vault, though small in comparison to the size of an actual pre-war city, was self-governing, and more than enough to sustain the lives of thousands of individuals, keeping them healthy and stable. Some vaults favored conformity over freedom, and a select few vaults denied any existence of a world above ground at all. The wasteland and its hellish horrors were just as good as a bedtime story you read to your kids, scaring them into better behavior. But the irradiated ground outside the vault is as real as it gets. More real than most fairy tales the vault overseers will tell you about it. Stepping outside the vault doors for the first time, being born into a freshly decayed world, can prove why there would be some that choose to believe it doesn't exist. The ones with a more difficult time surviving will succumb to fatal disease, and even insanity. Our case today is the Dunwich Building. It can be found at the southwestern tip of the map, and the story of one person in particular showcases just what makes the wasteland so terrifying, because it brings to the table something far deeper and darker than enclaves and raiders. Paying huge lip services to the author H.P. Lovecraft, you'll hear names like Allah's Red and Ugg Qualtoth being spoken and written down on multiple occasions. Even the building itself derives its name from the story, The Dunwich Horror, in which a man named Wilbur addictively searches for a book known as the Necronomicon. He is killed by a guard dog after trying to steal it from a library, and his corpse looks irregular when found, almost non-human. The references to Lovecraftian lore doesn't stop there. The marriage of sci-fi and horror elements in the wasteland can be drawn back to many of Lovecraft's happenings. The presence of alien beings, the Point Lookout DLC, and it's also probably worth mentioning that Bethesda has also published a game whose title is a direct shout-out to Lovecraft's most identifiable terror. Before entering, you'll see a baby carriage riddled with explosives. The imagery inside is more than unsettling. It effectively foreshadows the terrors you'll see in the building. 3 levels make up the vicinity of the building: the Dunwich Building entrance, Dunwich Forsaken Ruins, and the Virulent Underchambers. With each level of descent, the more sinister the game becomes. The 3rd and final level is host to several ghouls resting in ritualistic positions, worshipping an obelisk. The obelisk appears to be highly irradiated, reaching up to 20 rads at the very top. Radiation is a healing component for ghouls, which might spell out why they believe it to be some sort of idol. Now for the meat of the story. 9 audio logs lay in various places around the building. This isn't a main quest, so there's no penalty if you decide against this little scavenger hunt, but finding one of the logs might be enough to interest you in completing the puzzle. The audio logs tell of the hardships of a young explorer and survivor named Jamie, scavenging off of others and looking to trade anything for the opportunity to have a roof under his head. And one night he found one.
He must have been trying to trap food here. I recognize his snares. I can make out a building on the horizon. That must be where he headed. If not, at least I get a roof tonight.
It can be heard in the recordings that Jamie searched the length of the wasteland looking for his father. After a close call with a caravan, Jamie takes refuge inside the building in hopes of reconciling with him. He remembered the spooky tales told by the raiders of how the building was haunted with an otherworldly presence, zombies patrolling the hallways, and an almost demonic underchamber where dark forces at work plagued the house. Jamie's recordings become much more frantic and inaudible while in the building. He is awestruck when he finds a ghoulified corpse of his father, clutching an ominous book in his hand. Grabbing the book is what finally sends him over the edge, extinguishing his last spark of sanity, and turns him into a ghoul.
Can't forget the book. All I have left of him. It's warm against the stone. I'll just rest a while.
His transformation can be heard in the last audio log. Jamie's voice sounds strained and choppy like that of a ghoul, and he chants strange names like Gyeth and Alazred. Both names seem to derive inspiration from Lovecraftian themes. Jamie can be found at the bottommost level of the building, sporting a Chinese assault rifle. Not only will you receive positive karma for killing him, but Jamie is actually the only enemy in the area that will still react to you and attack you, even if you disguise yourself with the ghoul mask. Interesting. Remember the skeleton at the entrance with the ammunition boxes? He's important too. You will be able to find a terminal in the second floor of the building, labeled Dunwich Forsaken Ruins on your map. Hack it, and there will be multiple entries of a scavenger slowly reaching an inevitable insanity. Ghoulification? Possibly. Almost every entry begins with a feral snarl, and the last couple entries also mention Lovecraftian-style names such as Ugwaltoth, and another mention of the name Alhazred. So, what does the skeleton have to do with this? The unnamed scavenger in the terminal talks about he will be safe for another night because a courier is bringing him ammunition and grenades to fend off the ghouls. What do we find next to the body at the entrance? That's right, bullets and grenades. Strangely enough, Alhazred isn't just an arbitrary name mentioned in Jamie's deranged slur. Abdul Alhazred was a fictional character written by H.P. Lovecraft. He is also the fictional author of the Kitab al-Azif, known more commonly as the Necronomicon. This shows significance because the book Jamie finds in his dead father's clutches also goes by a name, the Kriv Beknia. The names of the books are not identical, but there are enough similarities to see where inspiration might be drawn from. All this sounds pretty far-fetched for a single building. A tunneling company morphed into ghoul breeding grounds by the consequence of irradiation, and a man way too unfortunate for his own good, creating an epicenter of spooky stories and creepy tales for raiders to tell around their campfires. One thing is for certain, this building won't just wither away and become a memory. In the Wasteland, the horrors of Dunwich Building are very much alive.